Good morning, dreamers. It is December 18th, 2023. This is episode 19 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, a podcast for dreamers by a dreamer out there living my dream journey, trying to live my best life and share my experiences and thoughts along the way to anybody else out there who gives a shit. So, I am now back in Arizona. Yesterday, I pretty much traveled all day in Oregon. And I got to tell you, I made one of the dumbest travel decisions I have ever made in my life. You would think by now, as a comedian who's traveled a ton for gigs, that I would be smarter than this. But evidently, no, I am an idiot. And that dumb decision was I got a electric rental car. And in my mind, I was thinking, rental car or electric cars, they have a good distance now. I pretty much only have one big drive, which is I flew into the Portland airport, but I needed to drive down to Medford, Oregon. And that was just the most cost-effective way because all of the airports near or around Medford, the flights were a lot more expensive and the rental cars were a lot more expensive. So I figured, well, it's cheaper to fly into Portland and it's cheaper to rent a car in Portland, and then I can just take a car, hop down to Medford. And then I thought, what might make it even more cheaper is if I didn't have to pay for gas. And when I went to the rental car page on Priceline or whatever, it featured you can rent an electric car. And the price was really cheap. It was like $25 a day or something to get an electric car. And I'm like, that'd be cool. I'll get like a Tesla. I'll be cruising in a Tesla through Oregon. I'll drive down to Medford. I'll find one of those Tesla fast chargers. No problem. This will be great. So I fly into Portland. I get to Hertz rental car. And it's not a Tesla, it's a Kia Niro, I think is what it was called. And I'm like, that's cool. But it was an SUV, and I'm like, oh, cool. SUV, that sounds fun. That single decision ended up causing so many problems yesterday. So the first thing that happens is I get into my Kia Niro, and it has a max mileage capacity of about 175 miles. So Portland to Medford, I think, was about 280 miles. So already I'm going to have to charge this thing en route. That's annoying. But the Kia Nitro has one of the fast charger connections. And so I was thinking, okay, well, I think those Tesla superchargers take like 20 minutes. So that won't be a big deal. I'll just find a fast charging station on the way to Medford. I'll drop off for 20 minutes, get a bite to eat, no big deal. Yeah, so the Tesla superchargers and every other superchargers are not the same thing. And I learned that when I dropped off in Eugene, Oregon, which is in the middle of Portland to Medford, and I find a DC fast charging station, and I plug it in, and it says it'll take about 2.5 hours to get a full charge. That's a lot more than 20 minutes, and I was not anticipating having to add a 2.5 hour stop in between Portland and Medford. Now, keep in mind, if I had just bought a good old-fashioned car, first of all, I could have made it there on a half tank of gas. But no, now I'm stopping off in Eugene, Oregon, and waiting for this thing to charge. Luckily, I found a charger. The Mercedes-Benz dealership had a free fast charging station. Well, fast charge, you could park there, but you still had to pay for the electricity. So anyway, I stop in Eugene, Oregon. I go find a mall. I'm hanging around. I wait for my car to get charged. I come back, and it had charged me. It had done like a prepay of like $50. I see, like, you have been $50 to charge my car? That's almost a tank of gas, depending on where you live. I'm going, okay, so not only is this not economical as I thought that it would be a lot cheaper to pay for the charges, I'm now set back 2.5 hours, and this is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. So then, after a full charge, I hop in my car, in my Kia, and it's like 170 miles again, and it occurred to me, I don't think I'm going to be able to even get to Medford on 2 full charges. And it just so, well, actually, no. So I had about 30 extra miles. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I had about 30 extra miles between what it was telling me I had and what I needed to get to Medford. So I think it was like 150 miles to Medford, and it was saying I have 180 miles of charge. So I'm like, cool. So I'm cruising down to Medford, and then I start to realize that the distance I have to go and the amount of miles that I have to do is the miles that I have in electric charge are depleting faster than the rate that I'm getting to Medford. So that 30-mile buffer zone starts shrinking to like 25 to 20 to 15, to where it gets to the point to where I'm trying to find a fast charger in Medford, and I'm literally thinking that the car is going to die. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to have the equivalent of running out of gas, and I'm not even going to be able to get to Medford. And now I have been driving for like 7 hours to get 4 hours away. This was all on Thursday, December 14th. Luckily, I literally I find another Mercedes-Benz dealership in Medford that has a DC fast charger. I roll in there with literally zero miles left on my electric charge. I get to the DC fast charger. I pump it up to about 20 miles or whatever, and that gives me enough to get to my hotel. And it so happens that my hotel actually has electric chargers in their parking lot. However, they're slow chargers. But that's not a big deal for me, because once I'm at my hotel, I didn't really need to go anywhere, and I can just plug it in overnight. So I get to my hotel, I plug it in, and it's like 7 hours to a full charge on the slow chargers. But that's not a big deal, because now I'm at my hotel. I'm going to be there all weekend, so that's fine. So I plug it in the slow charger. I go into my hotel. So then the next decision that I make, which ended up being very problematic in the end, was, some of you who watch my comedy know that sometimes I incorporate piano and improvised music into my comedy sets, where I will interview somebody in the audience, and unbeknownst to them, I'm actually handcrafting an improvised song about them. So as I'm interviewing him, and it just sounds like whenever you would see a regular comedian do crowd work, where you're from, what's your name, what do you do, are you married, how you been together, how you meet, all of that sort of typical stuff. But then after that interview, I will then go to my keyboard and I'll improvise. I'll sing a song about them. And it's really fun. I love doing it. So I didn't travel with my keyboard to Oregon because it's so expensive to travel a keyboard. However, I have done this in the past, to where if there's a Guitar Center in town, Guitar Center will rent keyboards. So it just so happened there was a Guitar Center 3 minutes away from my hotel and also where the venue was. So I called Guitar Center, said, hey, do you have any rental keyboards? And they said, yeah, it's like $120 for the weekend. I'm like, perfect. So I happen to have a Kia SUV. So I hop up to the Guitar Center, I rent a keyboard, I go back to my hotel, no problem. I do the shows, everything is great. I incorporate the keyboard. It was a big hit. The people that I improvised songs for just loved it. On Saturday night, there was a woman who was celebrating a birthday with her family, and I did a whole interview with her and her family, and then I improvised a song about them, and they just loved it. They had a great time. So here's the problem. I have to fly out of Portland. I have to be there I'm boarding at 4:30 p.m. Guitar Center doesn't open until 10 a.m. And I'm an electric car, which I have learned I can't get to Portland. Oh, yeah, I can't get to Portland. I have to stop and charge at least once. However, just like when you get a rental car with gasoline, you also have to fill it up, which means I need to get to Eugene, recharge the entire car, which takes 2.5 hours, and then I need to get to Portland, and then I need to charge the whole car again, so another 2.5 hours. Otherwise, they're going to charge me, like they do with gasoline, a recharge fee, which was astronomical. Now, with the keyboard, I had to put down a deposit, and to get my deposit back, obviously, I had to return the keyboard without any damage. There's a problem here. When I start doing the math, if I wait until Guitar Center opens at 10 a.m., it's already a 4-hour drive. That'll get me there at, if I had a gas car, like a smart person, that would get me to Portland by about 2 p.m. However, I have to stop and charge in the middle for 2 hours. That is going to put me at Portland about 4, but then I have to also stop and charge again, or they're going to charge me an extra fee. And I was also worried because I almost didn't make it in the first place. I was just really, really nervous about trying to get to Portland with this electric car that I'd have to keep charging and get there in time, and I did not want to miss my flight. The problem is, Guitar Center doesn't open until 10 a.m., and I have this keyboard that I need to return to them. So here's what I ended up doing. I go to Guitar Center before they open, a couple hours before they open. I take the keyboard. I kind of look around the facility a little bit. I'm like, is this a safe facility? The whole back area had barbed wire fence in the back, and I drive around the back of the store, and I don't see anybody. There's no homeless encampments. It's quiet. It's Medford. This seems like a quiet town. This doesn't seem like a high criminal area. I don't see anybody out on the streets. It's freezing out. It's really cold. My Kia had, frost all over the windows and stuff. So I'm going, okay, I think if I just kind of hide this keyboard behind the Guitar Center, and then I'll just call them the minute they open and just say, hey, the keyboard's in the back. Sorry, I had to put it there. So that's what I do. So I drop the keyboard off at the Guitar Center behind it, and then I'm making my drive to Portland to try to get there before my flight. At 10 a.m., I call Guitar Center. I let them know, and they are not really happy. They're kind of like, wait, what? But you have to bring it in, and we have to get your deposit back. We need to run the card again, and you need to sign a receipt and stuff. I'm just going, I get that, but I couldn't do that because I had to get to my flight, and I didn't have time, and you guys were going to be open in time. They're like, okay, well, we'll take your number, and then I'm going to have to talk to my manager and find out what we're going to do, so they'll give you a call or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I'm continuing my trek. I'm stopping off and charging. The first charging station I went to didn't work, and then I had to go find another charging station. All of this stuff. It's just one of those days where everything just keeps sort of piling up. I get to the Portland airport. I drop off the Kia. I was able to get a full charge, and I was there in plenty of time for my flight. And I called the Guitar Center again, and I'm just kind of getting a little bit of just attitude. You know what I mean? You can just tell that they aren't really happy with me, and they aren't really wanting to work with me and just kind of figure it out. And the guy just said, yeah, just the way that it was returned, we get a lot of homeless guys. It's like, first of all, here's what I did. So right next to the back door of the Guitar Center, there's an AC unit on the ground. And there were two, wheeled trash bins, not like the big dumpsters, but regular ones that you would see like on a suburb street that were totally empty. So what I did is I hid the keyboard behind the AC unit, and I took 2 trash cans and I put it in front of them. So like, if you were just driving through there, you wouldn't even see that there's a keyboard back there. And by the way, the keyboard was in this massive black, hard plastic, like pink case. Very well protected. It's all, black. It's not anything that, like if a homeless person came through, that's not what they're looking for. Like a big black plastic box. You know what I mean? It's not really, even if somebody were to like even be rummaging around there, and they would really have to be looking hard to even find it in the first place. Secondly, to find it and know what it is. And third, find it, know what it is, and be in a position to either steal it or damage it. Plus, I also bought insurance for it. So I was insured if there was any damage. So I'm just going, all right, this seems pretty low risk for me to leave it here behind a Guitar Center early on a Sunday morning where the whole back area is fenced off with barbed wire. There's like apartments on the other side. There's nobody out, at that time in the morning. So, I'm pretty good. And from what I understand, they wouldn't tell me. The guy wouldn't tell me. I'm like, well, is the keyboard okay? He just said, well, we get a lot of homeless guys rummaging through the garbage back there. I'm going, well, did they rummage through the keyboard or no? Or is the keyboard fine? You have your keyboard. You have everything. You aren't happy that I didn't follow your procedure, which, by the way, they never told me was the procedure. They never told me, well, you need to bring it in and we need to run your card to get and you need to sign a receipt or whatever. They just said, well, you have to return it without any damages. I returned it without any damages. All right. They got their keyboard back. Now, I get it. They're frustrated that, it didn't go the way that they expected it to go. But you want to know what? My day also didn't go the way I expected it to go, because I didn't realize that Kias are not Teslas. So anyway, it's like, I didn't have any other choice. I needed to get this keyboard back, and I needed to get up to Portland or I was going to miss my flight, and I'm dealing with this electric car. Now, again, I keep telling myself, if I had just rented a regular effing car that runs on gasoline, this whole trip would have been significantly easier, and none of this would have happened because I had plenty of time from 10 a.m. to get up to Portland if I didn't have to stop and charge an electric vehicle for 2 hours, 2 different times, and none of this would have been a problem. But that's not how it happened. So they're kind of just not really wanting to deal with me. And whoever I was talking to wasn't the manager anyway. He's like, yeah, well, we're going to have a manager call you back, and we're going to just have to see what we're going to have to do about that deposit, because we don't really have a way to get your deposit back if we don't have the card present, and because you didn't sign a receipt and blah, blah, blah. I'm just going like, oh, that's what it is. You're going to just try to keep my deposit because I wasn't there, and you don't like that you got your keyboard back in a manner that you don't approve of. Okay. Yeah, we'll see about that. So anyway, I get to Portland, get on my flight, I get home, everything's fine. But I still need to try to find a way to get that deposit back. What I'm thinking of doing is actually just going into my bank and disputing the charge, and just disputing the charge for the amount of the deposit, and just saying, yeah, this deposit wasn't returned to me, because you can dispute a transaction, but you don't have to dispute the entire amount, and it's all in the same transaction. So I might try that and see if I get my money back that way. But I'll tell you, that was a really, really dumb decision. So the life lesson here is, if I had flown into Medford and got an electric car, then I think everything would have been fine. But it was pretty dumb of me to rent an electric car when I also then had a 4-hour drive from the airport to my actual venue. And that, my friends, I will never do again. But I don't know. This is, I just think all of these experiences, this is just what life, I think, is. It's just having these journeys, trying stuff, trying to have a new experience, seeing how it pans out, learning, finding out what works, what doesn't work, realizing that, sometimes I'm just an idiot and I don't think things through all the way, and learning from that. And here I am. I survived. Maybe I lose. Maybe I can't get my deposit back on a keyboard, and I ended up spending about as much money on energy as I would have on gasoline anyway. But at the end of the day, I had a great weekend, an incredible weekend in Medford, Oregon, performing twice for the beautiful people there in Medford, Oregon at the Chadwick's Bar and Grill. And I had so much fun. And, this is a journey, friends. This life of going for dreams and trying to accomplish something, trying to have experiences and going for it. It's not always going to go the way that we think it is. And there's going to be disruptions and setbacks and learning experiences on the journey. But let's not let those discourage us from moving forward with what it is that is calling to us in our hearts. So that is the podcast for today. This is December 18th, 2023, episode 19. Can you believe it? 19 episodes. 2 more episodes, I hit that magic 21 number, and 21 episodes seems to be a significant milestone for podcasts percentage-wise. So I look forward to continuing to document my journey, being a comedian, actor, dreamer out there in the world, just trying to make my way, and hopefully I can share my journey with other people who are on a likewise journey and help inspire, or at least be another voice out there encouraging you all to go for what it is that is calling to you. And I wish you all of the luck in that journey, and sending you so much love today on a Monday morning. And I will talk to you tomorrow.